Larry never going to take a break. Larry's going to go get an offensive rebound. He's going to go set a back pick. He's going to do something to impact that possession.
I don't know if they had scouting reports like they did back then, because we had scouting reports.
Yeah.
Did y'all have scouting reports as well?
Perfect, and not only was it perfect, my mother-in-law nicknamed his jump shot Silent Death.
Larry Bird wasn't just a great player. He was a force that defined an era. Tonight, legends reveal why some believe he might be the greatest of all time. His impact went far beyond points, rebounds, or assists. Every game carried a combination of skill, intelligence, and an unshakable will to win that few could match. Bird's greatness showed in his preparation. He studied opponents, memorized tendencies, and anticipated every move on the floor. He combined that with a relentless work ethic, refining shooting, passing, and decision-making until they became instinct. He made difficult plays look effortless and forced defenders into situations they couldn't handle. What set Bird apart wasn't just execution, it was his consistency under pressure. From clutch shots to decisive passes, he delivered when it mattered most. His ability to read the game, control tempo, and exploit weaknesses made him a nightmare for every opponent. He could dominate in scoring, facilitate for teammates, or control the board, all while dictating how others played. Stories from legends show how Bird's vision, confidence, and competitiveness could change the outcome of a game. In this video, you'll hear why Larry Bird's influence, his unmatched instincts, and his dominance in every facet of the game leave many wondering if anyone has ever or will ever reach his level. Larry Bird had a presence that immediately drew attention. Cedric Maxwell remembers moments where that presence alone commanded respect. Maxwell recalls an interaction with Pete Maravich. Bird was double-teamed, and Maravich suggested he pass. Bird's reply was sharp and confident. If Maravich were any good, he wouldn't be double-teamed. That mindset was typical of Bird. He carried himself with complete certainty, and that alone forced defenders to react.
Pete passes the ball to Larry. Pete's man runs down and double teams Larry. Larry puts some fucked up shot. It goes astray.
He's going to get one. Up to isolate him forward.
And we come back to the bench, and Pete goes, Larry, you're being double teamed, man. You got to pass the ball. And Larry looked up and said, if you were any fucking good, there would be double teaming me.
Even without scoring, Bird influenced the game. Maxwell noticed how his vision, timing, and confidence created hesitation on the other side. Teammates instinctively trusted him, and opponents adjusted simply because of his presence. That moment was about authority. Bird didn't ask for respect. He made the game bend to his presence. Every decision, every glance, every hesitation he caused reinforced why he was in a class of his own. Being teammates with Bird wasn't easy. You quite literally had to match his energy to keep up with him. Michael Cooper built a reputation as one of the league's premier defenders, known for discipline, anticipation, and relentless effort. But even a player of his caliber admits that guarding Larry Bird was a different challenge altogether. Cooper recalls Bird calling him the best player he ever faced. Facing Bird was exhausting, not just physically, but mentally. Bird moved in ways that left defenders constantly adjusting.
People ask me all the time, who's the hardest player? And I always say him, because I played against Michael Jordan, George Gervin, Andrew Toney. And those guys, when they pass the ball, they have a tendency to take a break for a second. Larry never going to take a break. Larry's going to go get an offensive rebound. He's going to go set a back pick. He's going to do something to impact that possession. So that's why he was the hardest.
He's about, 6'8", 6'9"?
6'9".
Cooper said Bird was the toughest because he was everywhere on the floor at once. Always a threat to make the right play or punish a small mistake. Defending Bird required constant awareness, split-second decisions, and anticipation beyond what most players could manage. Even the most disciplined defenders felt the pressure. Bird's dominance wasn't about flashy plays or tough moments. It was the relentless, all-court presence and the ability to manipulate defenders mentally and physically. Bird demanded attention on every possession, leaving defenders exhausted and humbled, and cementing his place as one of the most formidable competitors the game has ever seen. Bernard King earned a reputation as one of the NBA's most prolific scorers, known for his strength, skill, and ability to create shots under pressure. But even a player of his talent considered Larry Bird his toughest matchup. King remembers facing Bird as a constant battle. Bird wasn't just in your way, he controlled the flow, anticipated every move, and punished hesitation. Defending him required more than effort. It demanded focus, awareness, and endurance. Bird's combination of intelligence and skill made him unpredictable. No matter how King tried to exploit a mismatch or find space, Bird was always in the right spot, ready to counter or force a mistake.
Well, Bird, I couldn't defend Bird at all. Obviously we're matched up, you're guarding me, and then I got to find Birds on the floor to switch over and defend him. And Bird was the toughest player I've ever had to face. The guy is 6'10", I'm 6'7". He can pass over the top of me, put the ball on the floor. He's a great rebounder and obviously a great scorer. And so Bird, for me, was the toughest matchup I ever had during the course of my career.
King felt the weight of Bird's presence on every possession. The Celtics star dictated how defenders moved, how plays developed, and even how teammates reacted. King realized quickly that talent alone wouldn't be enough to overcome Bird's all-court influence. Bird's toughness as a matchup went beyond physical skill. It was the mental edge, the relentless anticipation, and the ability to make opponents feel off balance every second they shared the floor. Bird didn't just compete, he controlled the game, and that's what made him one of the most feared players in basketball history. Charles Barkley built his career on power, athleticism, and relentless competitiveness. But he admits Larry Bird could frustrate even the most dominant players. Bird had a way of controlling games that went beyond skill, leaving opponents constantly adjusting to him. Barkley recalls one of the most memorable moments. Before the three-point contest, Bird turned and asked the question that has become legendary. Who's coming in second? A statement of dominance.
Because he was the best trash talker ever. So Leon Wood was one of my teammates. And we're sitting in the locker room getting ready for the three-point shooting contest. And I was kind of just talking to Leon, trying to calm him down, and we had all these three-point shooters in there. Bird comes in and says, "Which one of you is gonna come in second place?" So, which one of you gonna come in second place?
So first words through the door.
Which one of you gonna come in second place?
The question stuck with Barkley, a reminder that facing Bird was about more than competing. It was about measuring up to a player operating on another level entirely. Barkley felt Bird's influence in every detail of the game. Bird's presence affected every player's game and mentality, and in that contest, they stood no chance. That story summed up why Bird stood apart. He didn't just score or pass, he commanded the floor, dominated minds, and left a lasting impression. Facing him was a lesson in respect, strategy, and the kind of greatness that makes a player truly unforgettable. John Stockton was one of the game's smartest point guards, known for precision passing, court vision, and leadership. Even someone of his caliber found Larry Bird's presence impossible to ignore. Stockton recalls a moment that stuck with him. Bird walked up to their bench during a game and casually told him how many points he was dropping. The remark wasn't playful. It was a reminder of Bird's dominance and awareness. Every stat, every play, every possession mattered, and Bird made sure opponents knew it.
He walked by our bench at the Salt Palace and said, "I feel like 43 tonight." And he came out, he scored 43 in the third quarter and checked himself out with a 20-point victory, and I was fairly impressed with that one.
So he just picks a random number, I feel like 43, and he says it to the bench?
Yeah. It was fairly impressive, especially when he backed it up.
Stockton felt the weight of Bird's mental edge immediately. Bird's ability to communicate confidence, assert control, and manage the floor made defenders react instead of act. That moment showed why Bird was different from any player he faced. Bird didn't just compete, he commanded attention, dictated the pace, and made opponents constantly aware of his influence. Moments like this weren't about arrogance. They were about establishing dominance and reinforcing why Larry Bird's greatness went beyond skill. Bill Walton was known for being one of the best centers to ever grace the game, but even he recognized Larry Bird's extraordinary work ethic and dedication. Bird approached every game with total commitment, leaving nothing in reserve. Walton recalls how Bird gave his entire body and mind to the game. Every practice, every game, every moment on the floor was approached with focus and intensity. Bird's preparation, effort, and attention to detail were unmatched. He didn't rely solely on talent. He combined it with relentless work to make himself nearly unstoppable.
Nobody worked as hard as Larry. He was the first guy there. He was the last guy to leave. He wore that body out with the jumpers and the running and the movement and the concentration and the focus and the discipline and the sacrifice. He had it all. He wanted the light on him. He wanted the focus, and he wanted that ball.
Walton saw how that dedication translated into performance. Bird's competitiveness forced opponents to match his intensity or fall behind. His commitment to excellence shaped every possession, influenced teammates, and created pressure that extended beyond physical ability. That combination of talent, toughness, and tireless effort defined Bird's greatness. He wasn't just skilled, he was a player who demanded respect through sheer will and consistency. Bird's example left a mark on everyone who faced him, showing that greatness comes not just from ability, but from giving everything to the game. Dominique Wilkins built his legacy as a high-flying scorer and relentless competitor, but even he acknowledged Larry Bird's unique dominance. Bird was the kind of player who controlled the floor in ways few could match. Wilkins called Bird one of the greatest players to ever play the game. He noted that Bird was nearly impossible to beat in half-court situations. No matter how skilled or athletic the defender, Bird's vision, anticipation, and decision-making made him a nightmare to stop. Every movement was calculated, every pass and cut executed with precision, forcing opponents into constant adjustments.
And having one of the greatest players to ever lace a pair of shoes up in Larry Bird, in a half-court situation, he was evil. I mean, you couldn't beat him in a half-court.
Wilkins felt that mental and physical pressure every time Bird touched the ball. Bird's ability to read the court and dictate the pace left defenders chasing instead of playing. He could dominate without forcing the issue, making every possession feel like a chess match. Bird's half-court mastery showed why he stood apart from his peers. He wasn't just scoring points. He controlled games, dictated matchups, and forced respect from anyone on the floor. Bird's combination of skill, intelligence, and competitiveness made him one of the most formidable players Wilkins ever faced. Isaiah Thomas was known for his quickness, vision, and bad boy reputation, but even he recognized that Larry Bird possessed a weapon unlike any other: his shot. Bird's scoring ability struck fear into defenders across the league. Thomas called Bird's jumper one of the deadliest in history. He could shoot from anywhere on the floor, off the dribble, in catch-and-shoot situations, or under tight pressure. Defenders couldn't give him space, but even closing out wasn't enough. Bird's timing, accuracy, and ability to read defenses made every possession a threat.
I mean, his shot was just so perfect, and not only was it perfect, my mother-in-law nicknamed his jump shot Silent Death because when he shot it, the ball just rolled in the air, and it was almost like it was playing a song, the way it was just moving in the air, and then it would just swish through. I mean, his shot was just so, and he was just you know, as a competitor, I mean, he was a killer. I mean, just a straight killer.
Thomas felt the pressure Bird created with just the possibility of a shot. Bird forced defenders to hesitate, overcommit, or risk leaving someone else open. That combination of skill and fear of his scoring made Bird more than a great shooter. It made him nearly impossible to guard. Bird's shooting was a defining feature of his greatness. It wasn't just points on the board, it was the psychological edge he carried every time he touched the ball. Bird's deadliness from anywhere cemented him as one of the most dangerous and respected players in basketball history. Phil Jackson built his legacy as a coach who understood the nuances of basketball, and he recognized Larry Bird as the ultimate all-around player. Bird combined skill, intelligence, and competitiveness in a way few could match. Jackson described Bird as a complete player. He could score, pass, rebound, and defend at a high level, all while controlling the flow of the game. Bird's understanding of spacing, timing, and team dynamics allowed him to elevate those around him, making everyone better.
Larry Bird, Magic Johnson.
Wow. Well, you know, Magic's got a post-up game. Larry had a good post-up game too, but Larry was an outside step-back shooter. He had a great shot, you know, and I think I'd probably go with Larry. He's probably the better one.
Is that what you wanted to hear?
What did I say?
Jackson saw that Bird's greatness wasn't limited to individual stats. His versatility and basketball IQ meant he could impact every part of the floor, dominate in any situation, and adapt to whatever the game demanded. Bird's presence forced opponents to account for every angle, every movement, and every decision he made. Bird's all-around mastery defined his place among the game's greats. He wasn't just a scorer or facilitator. He was a player who could influence every possession, every matchup, and every outcome. Bird's combination of skill, awareness, and competitiveness made him a complete player, one of the most formidable forces the sport has ever seen. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was one of the most dominant players in NBA history, yet he always looked forward to facing Larry Bird. Bird brought out the best in everyone he played against, and Kareem saw that firsthand. Kareem described Bird as the ultimate competitor. Every game was approached with intensity, focus, and an unshakable will to win. Facing him wasn't just a matchup, it was a test of skill, strategy, and mental toughness. Bird pushed opponents to raise their game, demanding their full attention on every possession.
I remember the game he played against the Lakers the first year that the Celtics won the World Championship with him on the team. And he was ridiculous. He came in here. I remember our sportscaster played the Superman theme when he was talking about him that night after the game because he did everything,
Right.
Points, rebounds, assists, just steals, you name it. Larry has such a great mind for the game and a great touch. I had a lot of respect for him as a competitor.
Kareem admired how Bird combined competitiveness with intelligence. He could read the floor, anticipate movements, and make split-second decisions that left defenders struggling. Bird's relentless drive and ability to control the pace of the game made him one of the toughest opponents Kareem ever faced. Playing against Bird was a challenge he welcomed. Bird's competitiveness, skill, and leadership made every contest memorable, proving that his greatness wasn't just about statistics. It was about how he elevated the entire game and everyone on the court. Facing Larry Bird was never easy, but it was always worth it. Larry Bird's case as one of the greatest of all time goes far beyond points, rebounds, or accolades. His greatness was built on versatility, intelligence, and an unrelenting competitive spirit. He could score from anywhere, pass with precision, read defenses like a chess master, and control the flow of the game. Every possession mattered to him, and every opponent felt his influence, whether on the scoreboard or in their own heads. What made Bird exceptional was the combination of skill and mindset. He demanded respect through confidence, preparation, and execution. Defenders couldn't rely on athleticism alone. Bird anticipated, adapted, and punished hesitation. He could dominate in half-court sets, push the pace when needed, and elevate teammates without ever forcing the issue. His all-around mastery and mental edge created a presence that changed how games were played. The stories from legends illustrate that Bird wasn't just a player. They highlight a competitor who forced greatness from everyone around him. His influence extended beyond individual matchups, shaping entire games and leaving a lasting mark on basketball history. Bird's skill, vision, and relentless drive make a compelling case for GOAT status. Facing him was more than a contest. It was an encounter with one of the most complete, intelligent, and formidable players the sport has ever seen.